Okay, so what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna invite Jacob to come back up because we want to kind of do a couple of improvised role play sessions just to give you a sense of what would it look like if you got to kind of watch Jacob do his thing. And of course, it's a little bit shorter. Sometimes these conversations can take like an hour. But I want to invite Jacob up, and then the first person I want to have role play with Jacob is one of my all-time favorite pro-life people, not just in Oregon, but in the entire country. So we also give a warm welcome to Oregon Right to Life's Deputy Director, I hope I got that right, Liberty Pike.
I'll Venmo you for that later, Josh. $5, right? That's what we agreed on?
Okay. How are we doing there? We good? All right. I got a nice sign, and Liberty's already decided she's going to come down and talk to me, and we're just going to role play this out and see how it goes and where she goes and give you an idea of kind of how I usually do things. There's a lot of variance and variables, but let's do this. So, hey, thanks for coming to talk to me. My name's Jacob.
Hi, Jacob.
What's your name?
Sarah.
Sarah. Okay. It's nice to meet you, Sarah. So I know nobody wants to be here today. I doubt this is like part of your 5-year plan. So what happened? What brought you here today?
It's really hard to talk about because this is not where I want to be this morning, having this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I mean, it's a lot more emotional than I was expecting this to be for me because I'm married. I'm here with my husband. He's in the car.
Okay.
I think he's doing a job interview or something. We just moved here to Portland.
Oh, okay.
And this is not where we thought we would be this morning.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have other kids?
No.
Okay. So are you working?
Well, we just moved here, and the long-term goal is like for me to go to nursing school.
Oh, wow.
Have some job stability.
Okay.
The pandemic is really hard for where we were before and lost our jobs, and it's been really devastating.
Do you want to go to nursing school because it's a great paycheck, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that, or is there something else that draws you to nursing school?
When I was little, I was kicked in the face by a horse.
Oh.
I know. And I was in the hospital for a few days after my surgery, and I just remember like how nice the nurses were. And this one nurse, they had this one size of clothes that I was supposed to wear, and I didn't want to have to wear that. And so she brought in more comfortable pajamas for me, which I really liked. So I just
that kindness, you appreciated, and you want to do that for other people?
Yeah, I think so.
That's really cool. I think you're going to make a great nurse. I hope you go forward with that. And like, it's I think what you want to do is a really admirable thing. And it's not like you just want to get into it for the money, which that could be okay. Like if you're just trying to take care of your family, I get that. But you want to help people. And like you were helped when you were a little kid, kicked by a horse in the face. That's awful. I've had some horseback riding accidents too, but I know a little bit about that. Horses are wonderful creatures who can be incredibly painful at times. Okay, pause. Some of you are like, what the heck is going on? He just like dodged everything. He's talking about horses and this. No, I'm building rapport with Sarah. Was it Sarah we get? I'm building rapport with Sarah. And I'm trying to break some molds that she probably has. She's doing a great job with like body language. You can tell she's tense. She's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm picking up on that. I'm paying attention. She's not comfortable with me yet. So I'm gonna compliment in an appropriate way what I see her doing, particularly about her character, because she also probably thinks that I think she's a horrible person who's a baby murderer. So we're gonna keep going. Okay, so when I get lost, here and at the abortion clinic and any conversation I get into, and I have to refocus, and I'm telling you this because I hope this can be helpful for you, is I just repeat back where we're at. And what that does is it gives me a little bit of time to think, and if there's anything she disagrees with, she's free to correct it. And so I'm going to do that now. So what I hear you saying is, like, you don't want to be here, but you feel like you have to be. You want to become a nurse. You don't want anything to stop you from doing that. You're in a bad situation because you're not working right now. Your husband is trying his best to get a job, very admirable right now, difficult situation, and he's on the phone. Like, clearly, he's busting it. He seems like a good guy, and I don't even know him, but from what you've told me, it seems like he's really trying.
Yeah.
So you found yourself in this position. You don't want to be here. Now's a bad time for a kid. How far along are you?
I don't really know. Like, we were on this is not what we're not supposed to be here. Like,
Sure.
we're not supposed to be here. And so I was on birth control, and so my cycle's not regular, and so like I wasn't really sure.
Okay. So have you talked to the clinic at all? What have they said?
Well, they said they could figure it out before
They could figure it out before
my appointment.
Okay. And so, like, I just hear that you're really frustrated you're now here. Like, this was clearly not in the plan.
Right.
Did you take, like, a pregnancy test? And
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And
The
but you're
lines
not
were really dark.
What's it? The lines were really dark.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. My wife and I have been through plenty of those, and it's not like they tell you wait 5 minutes and it's like 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
It's fast. So you're not exactly sure how far along you are. They're supposed to help you figure that out here
Well, like
today?
when I told them, like the stuff on the phone with the counselor person, they said like maybe like still my first trimester probably, but like
Okay.
towards the end of it maybe.
Probably towards the end. So,
Yeah.
Well, I would bet that you're further along than 8 weeks. If I were just guessing, I'd think probably somewhere around 12, but I'm totally guessing based on not a lot of information I've gotten from you. But the reason I was trying to figure that out is I think, like, we need all the information. I'm not here to judge you, Sarah. I'm here because I care about people. That's all there is to it. Like, I think people matter. I think your husband matters. I think you matter. I think your child matters. And I want to help people get to the best position in life they can be. You said your child is about 12 weeks is what we figured. So you're probably somewhere in this range, right here from 7 to 12, somewhere in here. Does that make sense?
This is hard. I have 4 kids. Like, it's so sweet.
Wait a minute. A minute ago, you told me you didn't have any kids.
It's breaking character. I was like, this is really emotional. Like, it's
Okay.
really, yeah. Those are really small little hands.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's just not the right time. It's just not the right time.
Yeah.
It's just not the right time.
Okay.
This was like, we're living out of our car. Like, we are in a
I'm sorry.
position where we're transitioning. We're going to rebuild. I'm going to go to school. My husband's going to get a job. And it's going to be good. And then at some point in the future, it will be the right time. It's just not the right time right now.
I'm sorry you're living out of your car. I am talking to a person who's very determined and will not be there for long. I don't know much about you, but you're not going to be there for long
Right.
because
It's
you
just
guys are going to get
temporary.
out.
It's just temporary, just like today is temporary, and it's going to be over soon. It's just temporary.
Yeah. Yeah. You are going to be in a better position in life. You're not going to stay here for long. I don't think. I'm going to give you all the information here. I'm talking to someone who you're a very confident, competent and confident person. Am I wrong to say you might be questioning this decision a little bit?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm not horrible. Like, I understand. Like,
It's very open of you to say. Very open.
And we don't want this. Like I said, we don't want this. Like,
okay. Yeah. Yeah. You think one day you want kids, but not now.
Yeah. I mean, it's in like the 10-year plan, not the 9-month plan.
Right. Yeah. I want to give you all the information. I want to tell you the things that they're not going to tell you in there and show you the things they're not going to show you in there. Because I think people can make the best decision when they have all the information. Do you agree with that? That people make better decisions when they're informed? Yeah.
And that's what everybody's saying all the time. But I feel like they told me kind of stuff over the phone.
Sure. I'm sure they told you a lot. I don't know if they've talked money with you, but they're going to charge you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so they want your money. Is that fair to say?
Actually, no. Like, I mean, in Oregon, sorry, this is really throwing a wrench. But
No, that's okay. Keep going.
On the Sidewalk, it doesn't cost me anything because of where we are economically.
Oh, it doesn't cost you anything, right? But can we agree that they're getting paid for it?
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
and they're doing a service. They're getting paid for the service. If you don't go through with it, then they don't get paid for it, right?
That's true.
So they may skew things a little bit in the direction of wanting you to go through with it. It would make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they might not give you all the information unless they're absolutely required by law to do it. With that, like, to me, that makes sense. What do you think?
No, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I give you all the information? I want to show you what happens in an abortion. And in order to do that, I need to show you a picture so that you have all the information.
I don't think I want to see it.
You don't want to see it? Okay. And that's okay. Why? Wait, why? That's fine. I'm not going to show it. I don't do anything against anybody's
because
consent.
I don't want to be here already, and it's just really painful. And it's like, you already showed me the picture of what it looks like.
Okay.
I'm never going to be able to forget that I saw that, you know?
Okay.
So it's like, I don't want to see what else you're going to show me because I know what you people do. I mean, you're being very nice, Jacob. Like, you're not what I was expecting, but I know what typically happens, you know? And
well, I can promise you I'm not going to fit into very many boxes. So I'm not going to put you in any boxes. I'm just going to beg you, don't try to force me into any boxes either. Like, what you see with me
That's fair.
is what you get.
Yeah. It's almost time for my appointment.
Okay. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to try to trick you. I'm just going to give you all the information.
Okay.
You don't, and it's okay, and I won't force anything on you that you don't want. You don't want to see pictures of what's going to happen in there. I think a part of that is because you know how bad it's going to get. And I'm talking to someone who's already second-guessing going in for an abortion.
Well, more like quadruple second-guessing, you know?
Quadruple second-guessing. Do you typically regret things more before you do something or after?
I don't know. I'm just like put your head down and do the thing.
And do it.
That's right.
I'll tell you, we typically regret things after we do them, not before. And it hits us like a ton of bricks. And the harder it is before we do that thing, the more we're in turmoil over it before we do that thing, the worse it is after we do it. So what I'm saying is it seems like to me you're already under a lot of pressure. You want to do this so you can move forward in life, but there's something in your head that you're like, I shouldn't do this right now. This is not where I want to be. You've told me that several times. I don't want to be here. So I want to make a proposal for you and your husband. You can always come back here. They will take you back. What if you guys come with me? You pick the place. I'll buy you lunch. Anywhere you want to go. And you can come back here if you don't want to. But there's a whole side of things I haven't told you about. And what that is the resources that I have available to me. And I like to tell you about those resources. And it'll take me about 30 minutes, maybe an hour, or something like that. You guys come with me, I'll show you all the resources. The resources I have are all free. I'm very troubled by the fact that you guys are living out of your car. I don't believe in giving people handouts, but hand-ups, I think you guys could use something like that. I want to help make it so you guys aren't in your car living anymore. It's not safe. So there's a lot of other resources that we have available. I will never take your money, and neither will any of the people that I'm with. I just have this backing of wonderful people who actually think you, your husband, and your baby matter. And there's something kind of weird about that, too. Even if you decide to go through with the abortion, I'll still be here, and we'll still help you the best we can. No strings attached offer. The reason we're here doing this is because we really believe that you can be the best person you can be and not have an abortion. I think deep down you've got some kind of idea about that, but you're very concerned for some very good reasons. If you and your husband come with me, just talking about have a nice meal. Sit down, relax, you can come back here. If you like what I have to say and I can back up what I have to say, then maybe you want to take another step towards that direction. But there might be another way out. And I'll tell you something, I'm talking to someone who I think feels very defeated and hopeless right now. And I just want to tell you, you are a strong woman. You are far more capable than you realize. I feel like I'm talking to someone that thinks they're defeated and they can't do any better, and I believe you can. I believe you don't understand your true potential, and you haven't come close to it yet. And I think with a little bit of help, you can start to get there. And this place hurts people. And they scar people. I don't want that for you. I don't want what you don't want to look at in this picture to happen to your child. And I'll do everything I can without doing anything illegal or crazy or weird or lying to see to it that doesn't happen. So what do you say? You guys want to go grab some lunch?
I guess so.
All right, pause. Thank you, Liberty.
Round of applause. Now I'm going to change something up on Liberty. So Liberty, you're going to want to run and get those questions because I'm making a judgment call that I want to jump to Q&A now. We might do one of our role plays later.
Okay.
But just knowing how many questions there are,
Yeah.
I feel like it would be better to jump to Q&A.
Can I do a quick recap on that?
Yes, please do. I'm going to turn this
you
off.
saw,
just so you know.
I spent time. This was a rushed conversation. This is very rushed. I hit some points a lot faster and harder than I often do. Sometimes I imply them more. I'm not trying to give you any scripts. I'm just trying to give you a basic idea of where to go and how to get there. And what happened in that conversation was I let her share all the problems, and I kind of tried to work them out, which led to a darker and darker place. Then I went to an even worse place by showing her pictures of her child and showing her pictures of what an abortion looks like.
Or
that
offering.
What's that?
Or offering.
Or offering, yes. Offering. You notice she said no. I was actually glad she did because you could see how I could still use that to move the conversation forward. She started to go to a dangerous place, and that's okay about the enemy's screaming in her ear, I believe. This guy's dangerous. You can't trust him. He's just a fundamentalist. So fortunately, she let some of that out, and I was able to address it, right? No, that's not fair. You can't put me on that box. You haven't seen that from me. You don't know me. All you have to do, go on right now, is what you know. And what you know from me, I've been nothing but honest with you. So she was good. I went ahead and not afraid to take it to a dark place of, this is going to hurt you. This is going to be painful. This is going to kill your child. I want to help you not let that happen today. Then I move into kind of motivational stuff. You're more capable than you realize. The abortion industry, I think it's abhorrent how they're like, the best you can do isn't good enough to raise a baby. You can't do better than this. You need to have an abortion because, well, you're just not a capable person. I think it's a horrible mindset. It's a horrible thing to say. Yep. And I have had that conversation with people there. Like, I don't believe that about you. So from there, I start moving up. Notice I didn't bring resources in and all this stuff until towards the end of the conversation. when I had rapport with her and I could say, and she could believe me that actually maybe this guy does have some stuff. And I didn't say, I'm here by myself to help you or whatever. I said, I got a vast group of people. I want each and every one of you to know that is the case.
Okay. Well, we know what the first question is.
Okay. Wait. Oh, you want me to do that question?
Let's start there.
You want to start there?
I mean, we've been teasing it.
We have.
Which one are we
Right?
talking about again?
What do we do about the people who do the no's, the don'ts, the things that were on
yes.
there that we shouldn't do?
Yes.
Let's talk about, so this is the most common question we get. We had to talk about them in the course. We have a whole lesson about them. The most charitable term that we could come up with was alternative sidewalk counselors.
Very charitable.
Jacob has had a lot of experience in dealing with people, and I think this is a case where it's just best to be clear and specific. So specifically with a group, with people from a group called Abolish Human Abortion, and babies are murdered here, and those people tend to have very, very different strategies of what they want to do in front of an abortion clinic. Mm-hmm. It usually involves things like bullhorns and yelling Bible verses at people as they rush into the clinic. So you have had a lot of experience dealing with that. A lot of our sidewalk counselors have been trying to figure out how to deal with that. And I have personal knowledge. Lois and I have talked some about that issue happening here in Oregon. I know there's been some pretty aggressive action here that some pro-lifers here have had to deal with. And so, yeah, over here, you know it. I think your story is the one that I know about. And so let's talk a little bit about that.
Let me back up a little bit
Okay.
before we go to AHA. And sometimes people are just doing different things. I used to be one of those people. I just found they weren't helpful. So what would be persuasive for me for somebody to go, hey, don't do that anymore? I mean, how would they say that? And it would be something like somebody going, hey, I've been doing this for a little while. I just want to share some of my experiences. But first of all, how have you found this to be effective? Tell me why you're doing what you're doing. I really love that there's other pro-life people out here. What are you doing? And they'll share, oh, I have this sign that says, I don't know, one of the ones what's that? Murderers. Yes. It's a much more aggressive sign than where I was going. But sometimes maybe a Black Lives Matter sign or Black Babies Lives Matter. I don't think that they do that too? I didn't know that. Okay.
Of course they do.
But, I've got other sidewalk counseling friends and stuff that do things that I just don't think are the most effective. So I just encourage you to have conversations with them and maybe you experiment with different things back and forth. Moving on to AHA. We recording this?
This is being recorded, yes.
Excellent.
Now, to be fair, they don't consider themselves to be part of the pro-life movement. They will be the first to say they are not pro-lifers. We're the pro-lifers that want abortion to keep on going so we can keep on getting paid to do this work. So they have a very different perspective on what is going on here. So,
to those of you who have been dealing with AHA, first and foremost, I am so sorry.
Yep.
Their ideals that they prescribe to are horrible. They're
Hey, Josh.
dangerous.
Can you guys say who AHA is?
Abolish human abortion.
Abolish
AHA
human
is
abortion.
Abolish Human Abortion. This is the main group of the people who are shouty. They're the ones that some groups in Oregon have had run-ins with, like where they're blocking them, standing like right in front of them with their own like big graphic signs. There was one case where one of them was yelling at an older Oregon Right to Life volunteer who was sitting down during Life Chain. How dare he? And we got in his face and was yelling at him without wearing a mask. There's been some big problems with AHA in this area.
The ideas, methods, and way that the people use AHA's material and their way of talking to people is, in my opinion, the way that they're doing that is what the Pharisees did. I believe them to be some kind of Pharisee. I'm right on the border, and I'll probably go there with a little more thought of calling them heretics. I don't want to mince words here or say untrue things. I want you to be really clear what you're up against when AHA comes. I'm careful not to say the people. I'm saying the organization. The ideas that the organization prescribed to are very dangerous and bad, and I think they're evil. I think those ideas are evil. They're mean. I'm angry about them, and I think it's okay for me to be angry about them because I think they're like the Pharisees that made Jesus angry. It's okay to get angry. What you do with it is another issue. Is your anger righteous, and do you do it? Do you handle that anger well? But to be angry about AHA, I think is perfectly fine. I am. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, especially, I mean, you've had the experience of hanging out at the abortion clinic trying to save lives, and there are lives that you were not able to help save because you were dealing with a different person who was doing the kinds of actions that prevented people from wanting to even come and talk to you.
Yes.
Imagine what that feels like.
Yeah. And when they're saying just some of the cold, mean, they're using the Bible as a weapon instead of as a guide to reach out to people and love people and help them. They're using it as a weapon to hurt them and rebuke them. And sometimes rebuke is good. In the way they're doing it, I don't see anything good about it. So I'm telling you all of this, and I went on their website the other night in preparation for this question. And I was like, maybe we'll put some stuff up on the screen and I can go point, but there's too many points on there. All of their stuff, I'm like, that's a problem. Really? How did you? That's a problem. So,
but if you want some of that, here's something. So, you know, it's a hard balance that we try to walk at ERI, where you don't want to be constantly critiquing other people that are sort of like on your side. Now, in this case, it really feels like they're not on our side because they specifically say they're not on our side. But it's just complicated. But like, you don't want to be the guys like constantly critiquing pro-life stuff because this feels like you're just doing it to get attention or whatever. And so while, yes, we have a lot of thoughts about things that are effective and things that are not effective, and we want to share that, we also want to spend like the majority of our time fighting the other side, fighting abortion, you know? And so there's a really like kind of an ongoing line. We're always trying to figure out how to balance those two things out. I will say that I have decided and I've scheduled a day that I'm going to be recording probably 2 podcasts with the person that seems to me to be the expert on AHA to talk about specifically what is going on. What are the things that they believe, the things that they teach, why are they problematic, and what should you do if they show up? He understands them even more than I have because I stopped paying attention to them about 5 years ago because it kind of seemed like they went away. Now they're coming back. Mm-hmm. And so there's ideas that we'll be putting out in podcasts down the road in the not so distant future, like probably a few months or something like that, that will have some thoughts that will, like, instead of us having to do it right here, we will go through some of those points and it'll be more informative.
Let me give you just some practical tips that I think could be helpful with AHA. You've heard me talk a lot of negative things about them. I do believe we must have love in our heart for them, and we must remember that when we're talking to them. So I will first, when I see AHA, I'll go up to him and go, I love it when pro-life people are out here trying really hard to make a difference. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be out here to make a difference. So my name's Jacob. It's nice to meet you. What's your name? What brought you here today? Tell me about what you do, why you do it, successes you've seen, what have you learned. I'd love to share in some information on that and get to know where you're coming from. In that, we may come up with some kind of compromise, or maybe they're very reasonable-minded. I have had people come and they brought graphic visuals, and I came up with that thing and talked to them and found out they're a very reasonable-minded person. All I had to do is say, I don't feel like they're very effective. I do use them. I got them right here. They're literally in my back pocket. I use them, but I don't feel like they're effective here because I think they drive people off. And they were like, no problem. I'll just go put them back in the car. Do you mind if I stick around, though? Absolutely. That's great. And if I'd have gone up to him, dukes up, probably would have had another problem. Or it would have had a problem that I just avoided. I had another guy come one time, and it's always like a family. AHA seems to usually be, it's like a family or two white guys.
One of the two.
Yeah, it's either, yeah. So I went to the clinic, was there with a bunch of other Sidewalk counselors. It wasn't with AHA, but he believed in a lot of their ideas. So he comes out, he's got the horrible signs and all the stuff we said don't do. And so I tried talking to him. That didn't go anywhere. He's like, well, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. I think this is the right way. And you guys are heretics, and those Catholics over there are burning in hell. And so, okay. And so I said, you know what? I've been coming to this clinic for well over 5 years. I've never seen you here. I've been doing a lot of work trying to make ground with the employees so that we can get employees out of here. We're actually in conversation with at least one, maybe two, potentially three. We've got things going on. We're getting people, we're seeing people leave this clinic on a regular basis. We've got 3 baby showers planned, and you've come in here with your signs and your attitude, and you're like a Miley Cyrus wrecking ball. And I don't appreciate it. It's not right. I don't go to your house or your project destroying your stuff with the attitude that you have. It's not right that you're doing this. And he was like, well, if I'm not welcome here, that's not what I said, sir. What I said is the way you're doing things isn't welcome here. If you'd like to say, that's great. Maybe we can learn from each other. Maybe there's some things you're doing that I could learn and I could do. I'd like to know that. But what you're doing now is hurting us. And all of us have been working here for a long time, and you just come in with your ideas and plow forward, and it's not right. It's not right at all. And he was like, well, then I'll just leave and I'll go somewhere else, if that's what you feel like you need to do.
Darn.
Yeah. So he left. So there's that. But you need precedent there. You need other Sidewalk counselors. Numbers matter. If you are going yourself up against some AHA types, you've lost that battle before you started. You need to be at at least a 4-to-1, preferably much higher ratio. The reason I say 4-to-1, I'll get that in a minute, and that's 4-to-1 that are ready to engage. I will, if none of that works, I'll say to them, I'll try to talk to them and say something like, eventually AHA always says something very offensive and mean, and just, they'll call you not a Christian or something, or say you're a heretic or something like that. And I'll say, okay, that was offensive. I am a brother in Christ. We must seek Matthew 18. You say that you're a Bible believer. I'm a Bible believer. We're brothers in Christ, or brother and sister in Christ, and we have to go through Matthew 18. So I'm going to go. I'm telling you right now, you've offended me. You need to apologize. What you said was wrong. And then go down the list of Matthew 18 with them. One thing you could try to do before that is try to go meet with them and have coffee or tea or something like that outside of the clinic, where you could maybe minister to them, maybe help pull them out of this dangerous ideal setting. I'm sorry, I did skip that one, but that's another route you can take, is Matthew 18 them. If that doesn't work, I've got 2 more, but I'm just going to give you one because I'm developing the other one right now. And I'm not going to say that.
This is an ongoing process.
This is an ongoing process. This is my biggest
problem.
It's our biggest problem. I know it sounds crazy. It's not the pro-choice people. It's not what the pro-choice people are doing. I'm not even as worried about buffer zone laws as I am. Well, AHA causes buffer zone laws, so they're right there. So I don't want to undercut this. They're a major problem. So the other thing that you can do is if all that fails and you're not getting any resolution and they're not willing to meet or anything, then you can this is why 4 people, so you can be on like a 15-minute rotation. And one person is constantly trying to, for 15 minutes, interact with them. Non-stop talking, non-stop asking questions, non-stop excuse me, not
You know, they're like soldiers that throw themselves on a grenade to save a bunch of other people.
Yes.
It's kind of that role.
Yep. And eventually, they're going to burn out. The AHA types, they're a hot burning flame that doesn't burn long. So you need to hang in there. You need to know what you're up against and stay persistent. Tell your friends and family and your pastor what's going on so that they can pray for you. Beg them to pray for you. Give them specific times to pray for you. Tell them you need encouragement and you need backup out there because you cannot do this alone. I don't think it's possible to go out there and fight AHA on your own every day. I have been doing this for a while. I'm pretty good at it. I know for a fact I can't do it. I got maybe 30 minutes in me, and then I'm done for the day. If I were going for like 15 minutes, I could do 15 minutes, take 45 off, do 15, and keep rotating. This takes a lot of coordination. You guys are going to have to work together on it. There is no easy way to deal with these people, and it's going to be tough, and I'd love to hear, please, if you run into this, let me know what your tactics are. I want to know what's working, what's not working, because you are not the only ones in the country having this problem. It is a systematic problem we're having.
So while we continue working with the Sidewalk counselors who've taken our course on this and we're trying different things, I'm going to be staying in touch with Lois and people like you that I think you and I talked. And just as we figure stuff out, we're going to kind of keep relaying that information. We're going to keep on trying to figure out. I think there are more ideas that just haven't happened yet, but we're working on it. Here's what I want to do. So that was a long question. We don't have time for more right now. We're going to take a 10-minute break. This will be the last break. When we come back, we're going to spend about 45 minutes talking about how to deal with the police. And then we will have a final Q&A session where we'll try to go back to rapid-fire Q&A, hopefully with some easier questions than that one. And we'll kind of start wrapping up the seminar. Welcome back. Let's talk about how to handle the police. And we'll want to go back to that slideshow. Well, I don't think there's actually a lot of slides on this one, but we will be playing a video pretty soon, I know. So Jacob, you can take your mask off just so you know. I know
thank you.
Favorite thing you hear me say all day today. Talk to us about how to handle the police. Just talk about it.
I learned from an old construction boss. He was like, always have your P's in a row. He's like, proper preparation prevents poor performance. So your 5 P's in a row. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. We have a whole module on learning where you can legally stand and not stand. One of the things we say, and how to look that up, where to find that in the courthouse, your real estate office, real estate deed courthouse. We get pretty well into detail to give you a lot of ideas. It can be kind of complicated, but it's really handy to know. I'm just going to tell you about this one time. I was at the abortion clinic, and the police just showed up. I had an idea they were going to come because some of the escorts were complaining. And so the police showed up and they came walking over and said, "Hey, how you guys doing today?" I said, "All right, you know." And I said, "You out here for me today? What's going on?" And they're like, "Yeah, we got a call that you are trespassing. So I'm going to need you to go to the other side of the street over there because, you know, there's no sidewalk over here. There's no sidewalk over there. So most of the time when I come by, I just see people over there. I need you to go over there." It's okay. "Officer, I want to follow the law. I don't want to do anything illegal. I've actually done some research on this about where I can legally stand. And can I share with you that research? And are you saying I have to go over there, or you're going to arrest me or cite me or something? Or are you saying you'd prefer for me to go over there? Which is it? Is this either do this or you're going to jail? Or I'd like you to do this?" There's two different things. And so he was like, "Well," actually it was a woman, I'm sorry. She said, "Well, I'd love to see what you've got on that. Let's talk. Show me, what do you have?" And so I'm like, "Okay, if you can wait just a moment, I've got my briefcase over here. I keep all that paperwork in my briefcase, so I'm going to grab that. Would you like to search my briefcase before I open it? Do you want to open it yourself? It's fine. I don't care. It's a bunch of pro-life literature. If you want to take my stuff, that's fine." And when I took that person, the police officer, like, "Calm, wait, there's no tension here." They're like, "Nah, you just go through it. Just don't make any fast moves." And they often will say a joke like, "If you don't try to shoot me, I won't try to shoot you. How about that?" And I'm like, that sounds like a very reasonable deal. And so I'm like, okay, here's how I interpret where we're allowed to stand here. Because it's not super clear to me, officer, so if you see it differently, please help me understand. But I think I'm following the law. It says right here, the right-of-way extends 50 feet from the center of the road. That, and I've measured that, it's 12 and a half feet to the curb from the center of the road. That leaves me another, 37 feet roughly? From the edge here? The line the abortion clinic drew, like they went with like some white spray paint or something, put some dots in some different areas on like some different concrete places and stuff, and I said, the one that looks like a drunk sailor did it because it's like this, you know? I said, my understanding, officer, it's not even close to where the line is. Because if 37 feet from the curb, I've measured that, I got my tape in the car. I can go get that. But I'll just tell you, I'm not going as far as it says because it's actually into the first parking space. And I was confused about that, officer, so I called a lawyer that was into right-of-ways and all that stuff and easements and real estate stuff, and the lawyer said, "Oh, yeah, places do that all the time. Properties they own to the curb, but the right-of-way goes over to this point, so they can use this, but the county or whatever might come in and we're plowing it all up, putting some lines down, and then we're planting grass back. Tough luck. If you want it back the way you had it, you better put it back. But we're not paying for it to go back the way it was. We're just putting grass down. We're putting seed." And the officer's like, "This guy's done some research. He's got a pretty good idea." I'm like, "So here's how I read it." The officer goes, "You know what? I can't argue with that. I think you're right. That's how it is. Looks like you're free to be here. Can I take one of these? I want to go show the clinic so they understand, and I'm going to use it for my report. I'll file it in my report." Notice how the conversation started. "You need to move over there." 2, "Yeah, you're fine. You can be here." What we as conservative Christians, this typically happens in that community, is there is this idea that if I don't do what the police officer says right away, I'm going to get arrested. And something that we usually fail at doing pretty miserably is getting clarity. So let me tell you, in general, police don't want to arrest you. In general, police are not pro-life. Neither are they pro-choice. They're actually there to uphold the law, get things to a peaceful situation, and move on so they don't have to come back. That's it. Now, you are going to run into the occasional pro-choice police officer or pro-life officer and have to navigate some things a little different with the pro-choice officers. But in general, if you're reasonable, you're not fighting them, and you have the persona of, I want to follow the law, I just need to understand what it is, help me understand, and I just need some great clarity. I want perfect clarity here. It's going to be a very, very rare case that you're going to get arrested with that persona. Police don't want to arrest you. And it's okay, and I see people get really nervous and scared. And so I'll just tell you another case. I had the clinic called the police on me. It's usually the escorts, the newer ones, the clinic workers that have been there for a while. They know not to call, so this is the ones they haven't trained well, because when the police get called, tensions of the clinic go up, and people tend to leave because they don't want to be around police, and so their abortion numbers go down. So typically, in my experience, the police don't come out. After enough newbies had called the police on me, I had built such a great rapport with the police. It was awesome. So I had this other time where I'm there, and they're like, hey, we got a report that you're blocking people. And I think this was the same officer that told me I was trespassing. I had to move. So she comes up, and I'm like, oh, hey, Officer so-and-so, how you doing today? Oh, I'm doing good. What shift you working? Last time I talked to you, Anyway, I'm having this lovely conversation with the cop. It's driving the clinic nuts. And she's like, okay, Jacob, I got a report. You're blocking cars. They can't come in and out. You can't be doing that. I said, you know me better than this. Come on. Can you define for me what blocking is? Clarity. I'm not being a smart aleck. Clarity. What do you mean by blocking? So let me give you, for instance, officer. We're standing here. You and I are engaged in a conversation. You walked up of your own free will to have a conversation with me. Am I blocking you from going anywhere? I'm not standing in the path. I'm not standing in the road. You walked up to me. You can go here, where, Am I blocking you? She goes, no, of course not. I said, so how is it that when a car stops, rolls down their window, and I engage in a conversation with them, that I'm blocking? Now, I am courteous. If another car comes up behind them or something, I let them know, hey, there's a car behind you. Can you pull on over here? But I don't see how them stopping to have a conversation is me blocking them. Now, officer, if I were stepping in front of that car, clearly I'd be blocking. If I was throwing some kind of thing out in front of them or some physical object slowing them down or blocking them or stopping them from moving forward or backward, that makes perfect sense. I'm not doing that. She goes, well, that's the report we got that you were blocking cars. I said, I tell you what, why don't you go up there? They record everything we do. So go up there, view the recording, and I'll make you a deal. I love making deals. If I'm blocking traffic and what I'm saying to you is a lie, first of all, that's giving a false police report. And second of all, it's illegal to block traffic in front of an abortion clinic. So you should come back and arrest me. So why don't you go see the video and see if that's what's happening? I didn't even have a counteroffer. It's a horrible thing to make. So I said, but I just want to make a quick prediction. You're not going to see the video. They're not going to show it to you. I said, okay, we'll see. She walks up there. 15 minutes later, she comes down, grinning. I said, so, am I going to jail today? She goes, no. They wouldn't show me the video. I said, so did you tell them I'm not blocking traffic, they got no evidence, quit bugging you? She goes, yeah, basically. Let me check my notes here.
that I'll make while Jacob checks his notes is I think there are some pro-life people, I know not everyone in this room, but there are some pro-life people that they are afraid to go out to the clinic because they're afraid of even the possibility of being arrested. And there's something I want to just add a little bit of nuance to that Jacob said earlier, is it's not just rare that pro-life people are arrested. You won't be arrested unless you want to be arrested. Pro-life, the police officer doesn't want to arrest you, and he's going to offer you the choice. You could imagine that there are times when a police officer is confused about what you are allowed to do, and you don't change their mind, and you can ask, okay, so you're asking me to stop doing this thing. What's going to happen if I don't? Always want to ask that. Are you going to get frustrated? Are you going to write me a ticket? Or are you going to arrest me? And if the cop says, if you don't stop, I'm going to arrest you, you now have a decision you can make. And personally, my view is you shouldn't get arrested. In most cases, I would rather you go home and call ADF or call groups that want to help pro-lifers make sure that they have free speech rights. We have someone here who's worked with ADF. He knows. They want to help you. In fact, a lot of times they actually prefer you don't get arrested. But they do want you to record everything. They want to make sure you got a lot of clarity about what was going on, and then they will write a very stern letter to that police department and pursue a suit if they have to make sure that your free speech rights are protected. I say that because I don't want you holding, like, I don't want to go out there because I can't afford to get arrested. It's not going to happen unless the cop's like, yeah, I'm going to arrest you if you don't stop, and you're like, I'm not stopping. Arrest me. Then, yes, you will be arrested. But it's kind of like that was the choice you made. ADF has a really good flyer for sidewalk counselors about their First Amendment rights. We didn't include it in the handout because it's not mine to give. But I will email everyone. You're going to fill out a response card in a little bit, where I'm going to get your email address. I'm going to email all of you next week a link directly to where you can access that flyer. You just have to give ADF your contact info, and in exchange, they give you this flyer. But it's really good information, really helpful, and I'll be sending that to you if you want it. Anything else you want to say before we jump to the video?
I see sometimes pro-life people want to kind of evangelize to the police about being pro-life or whatever that is. Just keep in mind you want to let them control the conversation and not necessarily hijack it and tell them. You want to give them accurate information, but keep it brief. Don't get into long things about what you're doing there. It's okay to give them basic stuff, and if they ask, of course, but I've heard people just start on this long tangent of all the wonderful things
But
they've done.
officer, you're supposed to be against murder. Don't you understand what they're doing?
You are making, please don't. Rebecca helped us. Oh, Rebecca did something so well done.
Rebecca Dyer is one of the sidewalk counselors who's taken our sidewalk counseling course.
And
that Rebecca.
Rebecca, she did something that we don't talk about enough, and I haven't mentioned it here, but you are allowed to record conversations with the police, especially outside, but even in California, if you're having a conversation with a police officer, there's no expectation of privacy rights violations there. Different states have different rules when it comes to private parties. I'm telling you, when you're talking to the police, though, you should be recording. This is another reason why it's good to have somebody else there. You want to be polite about it, though. You don't want to be one of these annoying people that's like, oh, yeah, this is... So you want to be kind of discreet. There's a line you want to kind of walk there where you're not like trying to hide it, but you're not trying to put it in their face. But it is definitely a good idea. I highly encourage you, for the sake of ADF, if a police officer does say something that's just way out of line, you can help educate by letting the lawyers send them a nice thing. And ADF is not going to sue them right off the bat usually. I mean, it's just really rare. What they're going to do is send a letter saying, here are the things you did wrong. Here's what you need to do to fix it. This isn't a financial thing. This is a retraining thing. And you need to issue a statement that this was wrong to this person or whatever. So, yeah, let's watch this video.
Jacob and I filmed a couple of podcasts. Whoops. Sorry. I thought I was going to go to a slide that's not there. My bad. Jacob and I filmed a couple of podcasts that we put out relatively recently, and I don't know if you're getting the theme. You should really subscribe to the Equip for Life podcast. It's really, really helpful. But we put out two. where Rebecca had sent us like 5 videos that she had filmed over a course of weeks in front while she had been sidewalk counseling. And where like she talks to 2 different police officers on 2 different days, and then multiple days of talking to a very weird private security guard. Weird in not a good way. And so she gave us permission to use the footage, and basically we reacted to them. We played them. I created transcripts because the audio's not great. They're outside, it's a phone. But we've got transcripts, and we just kind of reacted to like these different things. So we're not going to do all of that here right now. You should go watch those podcasts. It's really great. But we're going to play you one of the shorter videos that she sent us. So just to kind of set up the context for this, this is the second time that she talks to police. It's a different officer than she did the first time. She's doing sidewalk counseling a little bit different than usual. This is less sidewalk counseling than parking lot counseling, because the Planned Parenthood that she's sidewalk counseling in front of is in a strip mall where there are multiple businesses, including a Subway. And so basically, she worked with an attorney. This wasn't ADF, it's someone from Life Legal, I think. But she would buy a sandwich from Subway and eat it quite slowly, but she's a patron, and Subway wants her business. And so you got this kind of like, this is where there's a little bit more of a legal gray area where you're in a parking lot that's open to the public, and you're a patron of one of the stores, but one of the stores doesn't want you there. This is where it's not as clear as most sidewalk counseling situations, which is why the cops were really thinking, you're not going to be allowed to be there. So we're going to play this video. We're going to pause it a couple of times, and Jacob's just going to give some commentary and kind of explain, here's some good things that Rebecca did really well. Here's at least one thing that Rebecca did that we probably wouldn't advise. Generally speaking, she did really, really awesome at this. We thought just like an actual tangible example would be something helpful to show you guys. So
yeah. Let me add just a couple more things really quick. The way we got into, or I heard about Rebecca, was she sent me an email saying, thank you so much for your course. I went through your how to handle the police video, and then a few hours later, I had an interaction with the police, so thank you so much. That was the first reaction. So she sent that to me. I was so excited. I called her, and she was like, wow, I can't believe you called. And I was like, yeah, this is really cool. Tell me about it. What happened? And so she's telling me, and I was like, did you get a chance to record it? Probably not. And she's like, yeah. I was like, really? She goes, well, you told me to. Yeah, but I forget to do that all the time. So she recorded it. I can't thank her enough for it. She has a big advantage that most of us don't have, and I want to say this is why one of the reasons. She is a remarkable young lady, but she's also able to handle talking to the police with relative ease and comfort, and the reason why is because her father is a retired police officer. Her brother is an active police officer. So she's used to talking to men in uniform or people in uniform. And I was blown away by how calm she was and how well she's doing. And so I asked her how she could do that. When she told me that, I was like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. I'm only telling you that, so if you're like, I'm so nervous when I talk to people. It's okay. Do enough sidewalk counseling. They'll call the cops on you enough. You'll get lots of practice.
One final thing. After this, we'll be going to our last Q&A session, and so I'll ask Liberty and any other Oregon Right to Life staff. They'll be collecting your final question cards. If you have any, we'll be kind of doing that while we talk about this video. Okay, we can go ahead and roll it.
That's it. Yeah. How are y'all doing today?
Hi.
Doing well.
How are you?
Good, good. Here's the issue.
Yeah.
Technically, I get it. Freedom of speech and stuff, and I'm not going to infringe on any of that.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't approach the people that are going in there to do business. And technically, this is a private parking lot. And if you're not doing business in any of these businesses, then we can have you go to the sidewalk. And you're free to do whatever you want on the public stuff. But you absolutely cannot be approaching the people, despite how emotional it is, and it's a very controversial topic.
And why?
It's just
Okay.
the way it is. They have their rights, you have your rights, but we can't harass them and do those types of things. If you want to sit out here and sign whatever.
Lots going on here. Notice his demeanor. He comes up. is kind of friendly, but he's being pretty firm. You can't be here, and he's giving a bunch of reasons. Is everybody clear on what's happening here and the reasons he's saying? Well, it shouldn't be. Because I don't understand what he's saying. Like, I hear the words, I see the transcripts, but it's not making a whole lot of sense. It seems like he's throwing the word harassment out, free speech, private property. You can do this. You have free. There is so much that he said here that does not make sense. You've got to get clarity on these things. Exactly what is harassment, officer? I'm not trying to be snarky. You said I'm harassing people. We're going to get into that in a minute here, but notice his demeanor and where he's coming from and how he's trying to push these things along as if they are breaking a law and they have to move on. He said, I think he said at some point here, you have to go.
You absolutely cannot be here.
You absolutely cannot be here. Really great clarification question is, are you saying it's against the law, I'm going to jail if I'm here? I know it seems like, wait, why would... Trust me, it's not clear. It's okay to get that extra clarity. Please hit play. Thank you.
That's fine, but you can't approach the people that are going in there to seek services. It's just...
Okay, and is it because, so if we were on the sidewalk and we were going to approach someone, that's
it's public
fine?
property, and you can hold the signs, and you can talk to whoever you want out there. But this technically is a private parking lot, unless you're doing business with the business.
She's got her sandwich.
She's got her what?
I mean, yeah, I did
okay.
purchase something, so I'm like, yeah.
And that's why,
customer of the...
quite frankly, that's why I'm really not pushing the issue, because you guys are free to believe and practice.
And we would never harass anybody.
Well, I just saw you approach her as she was going in.
Yes.
Yeah.
So does that
was
constitute?
I don't think they are inviting it or would appreciate it. I mean, they see the signs, they know your stance. Let's just be honest. They know your stance, and then someone going in there to seek some services, I don't think that.
What is his view of harassment again? Like, are you guys hearing this? There's so many things here that's just not clear, and it sounds like he's saying if you approach and say hi to someone, it's harassment if they know where you're coming from?
Hey, Jacob, I've got some information for you. Oops,
You are
I just
harassing me.
harassed him. Did you see that? I broke the law, everyone.
Okay, let's hit play again, please.
Want people.
Yeah, I just said good morning, and like obviously she kind of wanted to not talk to me, so I let her go. But there's definitely girls that I say good morning to and talk to them and have a kind conversation.
And I don't know exactly what happened, but they're saying that you're harassing people, and whether.
So if that's what they're saying, then can I call? Because I have a lawyer
Call
for
who?
this. My lawyer. So
I'm not going to kick you off the property or anything.
right, but if I can't offer it to them, like we're just.
Well,
offering
I think
someone
you
a
having
flyer.
the signs, or if you create one, or you can say, hey, can I interest you in a flyer?
That's all we're doing. We're just handing out flyers.
Yeah.
Okay, but I think maybe the approaching, and I don't know if they're going and saying something to them when they get in there, like, hey, those people are harassed. I don't know who's saying that. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to.
Yeah. Okay.
Pause for a
I
second
understand.
here. He told them they could do exactly what they're doing. They said that's what we're doing, and he says, no, you can't do that. I've watched this so many times, I'm still confused.
I know. Every time.
So,
They
clarity.
do a really good job of being clear with him about what they're doing.
Yeah.
They are not being obnoxious,
Yep.
but they're being very clear, and I loved the clarification question. And you saw they literally both went to it at the same time. They talked over each other with, is that harassing? It was such a good question because that's what he was implying.
Yeah.
And if you just let that implication go, it's sort of like, okay, that's like on record. It's like, is that what we're talking about? And then he pretty quickly backs down off of that.
Yeah. Now, one thing that they are doing so well is they're being very polite. They're not getting snarky or anything. They are seeking clarity with him. He's not being clear. He's not being. He's not speaking in a way that gives, like, what am I supposed to do, or do I have to do? And they're doing a great job, and that's going to pay off. Keep going. Please hit play.
You guys are
Yeah.
very copacetic than some of the other ones that I got to deal with.
Right.
Yeah, we're not here to do that. We're not here to cause someone a problem. We're
I get
just
it.
here to help. And
I know. And you know what? Sometimes it is an educational piece. I'm a realist.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just don't know. They don't know what
maybe
they don't know, or
someone
they're a product of their environment, and they're growing up a certain way. This is how you take care of things, and sometimes it is an educational
And maybe
piece, but
someone offering to help would make the difference. Of like, you know, if someone was there to help me, we can work this out.
I get it. I agree, but
Would it be okay with you if you could just tell what you told me to my attorney?
no, I'm not a mediator between you and your attorney. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go down that road or that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I just tell you, our standpoint, the city of Escondido, the police department, and here's the deal too. We do have a lot of homeless people that hang out here,
Yes.
and then it invites drug use and everything else. So we kick the homeless people off the parking lot for not conducting business. So then we got to be careful that we don't create a double standard where, because you all have signs and a message to give, that you're getting special treatment that strangers don't get.
Do you see what just happened there?
Yeah.
That was some sleight of hand that just happened there, where suddenly they're getting compared to like 3 different law-breaking activities that other people are doing in parking lots being used to make it so they can't do their free speech activity.
Yeah.
I want to see the letter that ADF would send to them over that.
Yeah. Like he said, homeless people. Well, homeless people, it's not that they're not allowed to be there because they're homeless. Or maybe that's a good question to ask him. It's that they've had people who go drink there. You can't do that. They've had people who are doing drugs there. And there is no soliciting. Soliciting can be a little bit like, what exactly is soliciting? Well, let me tell you what's not. There are free speech activities that are not soliciting. So if you were to be trying to sell something, you're soliciting. You can't do that. A little bit of gray territory is if you are trying to gather emails or phone numbers or people's information and have them give you their information. That's probably soliciting. You want to stay away from that. That's not what you're doing. Giving people free information as a humanitarian human resource thing, that's not solicitation. That's a free speech activity. Telling people, basically what you believe, why you believe it, and if you think something's wrong, that's free speech.
Clarification question.
Yes.
So you just said that you might be getting close to solicitation if you are collecting contact info.
Yeah.
Earlier, you said it'd be really great to get their phone number and to give them
Sure.
your phone number. So is there a difference?
Yeah, so when I'm thinking of that, I'm thinking about people who are carrying clipboards who are like, hey, I'll give you this free thing if you give me your contact information. If you and I are in the parking lot, I'm like, hey, you seem like a cool person. I'm a pretty cool person. I'd love to have dinner, talk about sidewalk counseling or something. We can share information. But I'm not going there like, hey, can I get your email? Okay, can I get your email? We are doing that here today, but that's not what's happening here. They're not going around trying to get emails from people. They're getting into conversations. To continue that conversation, they're getting their contact info. I see that as different. It's a little bit gray there, but yeah.
Play.
Okay.
You guys clearly aren't doing the same business that they're doing when they sit in the parking lot, but nonetheless, that's where it's kind of a double-edged sword. So you just got to be mindful of that. So just please leave them. You can stay here and say, hey, can I offer you a brochure? And if they keep going, they keep going. But
Okay.
I'm with that for sure.
okay.
All right. Thank you
right,
so
folks.
much. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
And can
have
I
a
get?
wonderful day and try and stay cool.
Yes, you
It's
too.
the end of this video that is the most confusing to me every time I see it. Because he says, so please leave then. And right after that, he's like, so keep on doing the thing, give them, just you can offer.
Bottom line is because she had this on recording, I'm not a lawyer, but I don't even think you'd need a very good lawyer to get her out of this or even send a letter to say to the police department, you're going to have to add clarity. We don't understand what you're saying, and you certainly can't be arresting our people when your people don't even know what they're talking about.
Yep. Okay, let's do our final Q&A session. Liberty, you are up.
Okay, somebody asked about COVID restrictions.
So how do you sidewalk counsel with COVID restrictions? I'll take it first, and then you fill in anything that you want to. When the COVID thing happened, I was expecting, in my own mind, like I don't think I talked about this with Jacob, but just in my mind, my mental reaction was, well, so much for sidewalk counseling this year, or however long I thought it was going to be at the time. Like, at first it seemed like it would only be a few months, and it wasn't. And it was I was so happily surprised when we started hearing through the summer from the people taking a sidewalk counseling course that they were still able to do sidewalk counselings, abiding by their local kind of county and state regulations, and they were saving babies. Josh Harris, the comedian that was on the podcast clip earlier, his group has saved probably at least 60 babies, and that was starting in last summer. All of those babies were saved during COVID time, okay? And so my view, yes, that's really cool, is that you should wear masks as much as you might not like that, and it's uncomfortable. I wear glasses all the time. It's like, it makes things really hard for me. I'm glad that they're letting me speak without it because, boy, that's tricky. But I think like you want to be as approachable as possible, right? It goes right back to that first rule. And especially for a lot of young people, okay, I'm going to make a broad stroke kind of a statement, but I think it's true. Again, remember what I said in the beginning. People on the right tend to think differently than people on the left, okay? Now, not everyone having abortions is on the left, but many are. On average, there are exceptions to every rule. On average, I think we can all agree that people on the left tend to be more concerned about whether or not you're wearing a mask than people on the right. So, you might feel like this is stupid, like it's a waste of time or it's not effective or whatever. And I'm not going to say whether I think you're right or wrong. Do your research, at least, hear from scientists and kind of what they say about that. Regardless of your opinion about that, she probably thinks differently and is probably going to be making a judgment about the way you look. Just like if you're wearing a shirt that says, "Don't tear a baby's limb from limb," or whatever it said. That was like, oh, you're not wearing a mask, you don't care about my safety. You're one of those people that is just like all about you and how you want. That's not what I think. It's not where I think a lot of people are coming from that don't like the mask thing, but it's how it comes across. And so in my view, even though it makes things harder, it's harder to like connect with people with the mask on. You can still tell if people are smiling. A lot of smiling happens right in the eyes. You can tell I'm smiling with the mask on, but it's harder. You can't read lips, now, and so sometimes you got to speak up and all of that. But you want to be approachable. So that's one thing that I would say about it. Do you have anything you want to add?
No, I will just, as a side note with that, you need to pick what fight you want to have in front of the abortion clinic. If you feel that masks are ridiculous, you shouldn't have to wear them, you're not going to wear it there in front of the abortion clinic, then that's the fight you're going to be having. That's the mission that you're on. And helping women and saving babies is going to have to take second seat to that because you cannot fight on battlefronts at the same time. So pick which one you're there for and be mindful of the other counselors. All right, Liberty.
Okay, I actually read their question wrong. Okay, taking this down. They were specifically asking because of the scenario earlier where you said to send the father in or the man in to bring the girl out.
Oh.
What about with COVID restrictions? Although I think it's good you answered that, and I was going to say face shields too, because then you can see the smiling in the
That's
lips.
A good point.
But what about that? That's what they were specifically asking.
That's interesting. Is there an issue,
Jacob,
Jacob,
with
sending
guys? These have grown. We're back to as many as we had. So you have to
I'm going to go as fast as I can.
Really quick.
I have not seen abortion clinics where they will not allow you to speak with the abortion-minded woman. They might say you can't come in or something, but then you can still have all the same lines and press all the same ways that you're demanding to talk with her right now.
So she might need to get sent out.
So yeah, fine. But they don't get to just say, no, COVID, you can't talk to her.
Yep.
Okay, back to how we talked about how there's like spaces where pro-lifers can't go where the women
Buffer
are coming
zone?
in. Yeah, well, and it sounds like Salem. I haven't been to Salem's abortion clinic, but it sounds like Salem's abortion clinic has it's pretty recessed from the road.
Okay.
And then there's a big parking lot too, so it sounds like it's very difficult to get close to where the
Yeah.
women are. So
Yeah.
they're asking, how can we avoid sounding like we're yelling from the
It's a
sidewalk?
great question. So glad someone asked that question.
You are yelling. Don't be angry. Because in order for them to hear, if I didn't have this mic, I'd have to be yelling right now. A lot of what you say determines that. They're going to expect you to be saying mean things, say nice things. And you can go forward from there. I hope that makes sense. But, I'm very hesitant to use amplified sound for how it comes across. I'd rather you be using your voice. And there is something that you can use with projecting your voice. And music people understand this better than I do, but you can project your voice so you're not shouting, but your voice is carrying.
A lot of it's about tone of voice. I'll demonstrate. I'm going to turn my mic off. Liberty, I just want you to know how much I appreciate our friendship. You have been such a blessing in my life. I just so glad that we're friends. And hey, you tell that I'm speaking very loudly, right? Someone called us yelling. Did that sound angry? No. Tone of voice goes a long way.
Oh, thanks, Josh. Okay, this one should be quick. They wanted to know, this one we got a while ago, so hopefully you can remember, how many years ago was the opening situation you mentioned? And this person is really excited for the child who's around because of your conversation.
The opening situation?
There must have been a scenario you started the day
with. The cyst removal.
Oh,
is
yeah.
That right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that was years ago, and so many have blended together. I don't remember dates.
Just
guess. At least 5 years.
Okay. This question, actually, Marie, would you mind standing up? This is Marie Barzin. She works with the Portland Sidewalk counselors. They were for
Marie.
40 Days for Life at Lovejoy, but since Lovejoy is currently closed, they're in Beaverton. So if you know anybody or can drive out to Beaverton, she and Therese and their group of fantastic sidewalk counselors really need more reinforcement. So somebody asked about that. And then, thank you, Marie. And then, Linda, can you stand up? This is Linda Middlecoff. She's on our board. She's in Roseburg. And so if you're anywhere near there or know somebody near there, we can connect you to Linda, or you can talk to her today about getting in touch with people over there. Thank you. And then there are people in Salem who I asked Lois, and she said she doesn't think they're here. If you just shoot us an email, then we can connect you to somebody in your area wherever you are. And then there's also 40 Days for Life, the website. You can go in and put in your zip code, I think, and they'll pull up all the closest drives to you. And if you haven't heard of 40 Days for Life, are you in a campaign right now, Marie, or not? Okay, so they're in the spring campaign right now, and the whole concept is 40 days of constant pro-life presence outside abortion clinics. That's peaceful. It's primarily prayer-centric, but they certainly are welcoming of people that are of all different walks of life to join them wherever you are, as long as you're not from AHA, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much.
This says, what if you have only 5 seconds to say something? What would you both of you say if you only have 5 seconds?
I reject the premise. I'm trying to buy more time. So yeah, you have
learning from me now.
You can time me. I'm sorry. I know this is a hard day for you. I'm sorry for what you're going through.
Okay.
I'd love to speak with you. My name's Jacob. That's usually all we have. Or I got a kid out one time by telling somebody, sir, you don't want to park there. Excuse me? You don't want to park there. Are you threatening my truck? No. You're parked underneath a hickory tree. It's dropping hickory nuts. They're about 80 to 100 feet up. When they hit your truck, it's going to look like it went through a hailstorm. And then, by God's providence, a hickory nut fell 3 feet away from him. It landed like a grenade on the ground. He jumped back. He said, "Thank you so much." He moves his truck. We got into 3 or 4 conversations. He chose not to go through with an abortion all over a hickory tree. Okay? Ooh. I've had other people, I said, "Sir, excuse me, you really need to hear what I have to say." They keep walking. "You really got to hear this. Hold on." They keep walking. "You've got to hear this. Please listen to me. It's not what you expect." "What?" "You left your lights on." "Oh. Thanks. I know you're having a bad day. The last thing you want is for your car to not start, right? Yeah. Yeah. Well, I got jumper cables. I'd get you a jump if you did get stuck. But that's a bad day. Hey, listen, come talk to me for a second. I don't bite you.
No, Josh has to say what he would say in 5
I would
seconds.
do the same thing he does. He's the expert, whatever he does.
That's cheating, Josh. Okay, this says, please help us with opening lines at a Planned Parenthood that also offers test hormones and birth control. I think this question, maybe also if you could diversify into a non-surgical abortion clinic, because some of our communities here, they're like just referring to the place that does a surgical abortion or giving out RU486. So what can they say if they know they're most likely not going in for an abortion?
Most likely not going in for an abortion.
Yeah.
So you need to change tactics a little bit from what we've been talking about, and that would be going to something like, hey, I've got a coupon. I've got a free place you can go that's not going to charge you $75 for an STI test, $200 for an ultrasound, or they've got premarital stuff, something along those lines. I don't have a lot of experience doing that because I usually go to abortion clinics. But you can customize some of what you say in finding a PRC that's close to you. You need to get to know that PRC. Once you know that PRC, find out all the resources they have, if there's any fees, almost never is, and how available they are to see somebody. So you can say, hey, if you're here for these things, list them off really quick, I can get you in for free at another place. This place just wants to take your money.
One of the things we talk about in the course, we actually brought on a pregnancy center director to have her talk with Jacob about how Sidewalk counselors can build up a relationship of trust with the pregnancy center directors, because that can make a really powerful team if you go that extra step of building up that relationship where there's that trust, because most Sidewalk counselors don't do that. They try to bring people to the pregnancy center, but they don't do all that relationship building and the kinds of things that Jacob can do, where he can call a pregnancy center and they know who Jacob is and they know what he means when he says, hey, I've got someone here that needs to see you. They know this is someone who's going to have an abortion today, and they kind of bring him to the front of the line if possible. That's the kind of relationship you want to build. We have a whole part of the course about that.
Yes.
Also, we designed little small cards that are business card sized that would be good for this, that they send them to a website where they can find their closest healthcare center, because some of these women who are going into Planned Parenthood facilities don't want to go to a PRC or don't need to go to a PRC, but they want birth control. And so we have really nice cards. You could call our office and we could ship you out a pack of 25 cards or whatever.
There are other federally qualified health centers that are not Planned Parenthood where they can get that.
Okay, another question. You guys are doing so good about these rapid fire. I'm so
I know.
proud
Well,
of
we've
you.
also got, just so you know, don't be freaking out, because we've got like 25 minutes right now for Q&A.
You mean
this is
25
most of what
minutes?
we're doing the rest of the seminar, yeah.
Well, okay, we're doing great. Is it more effective to have your spouse with you or be alone?
I'd never be alone. It is good to have people of opposite gender there. So that
People who, what?
Of opposite gender.
Oh, okay. I just couldn't hear you. Okay, yeah.
And Josh is like, wait, what did he just say? Because like, so when I go, I'm often there with some other female sidewalk counselors, and it works really well because they're like, Jacob, there's a guy, I think you can get him. And I'm like, Kathy, there's a girl, I think you can, And so she's able to speak to the woman in a way that I can't do as well, and I'm able to speak to the men in a way that she may not be able to. So, no, go. If you can do that as a couple, that's awesome. Good for you.
Okay, so I think that answers somebody asking, can old white guys be effective sidewalk counselors?
I certainly hope so. I ain't a spring chicken anymore.
I think you also answered that earlier, talking about how men are able to talk to men and the importance of that. Okay, I'm going to read this question because I want everybody to have their question answered, but I think your question might have already been answered. It says, how do we converse with people we don't have access to? Strategies for that. Is whoever wrote that still in this room? Okay. Did we get that? Great, because I think they mean by far away people.
And I'll say one other thing about that. I mean, it is pretty rare for there to be a place where you can't try anything. And we talk about this in the course when we brought on David B. Wright. and kind of we talked about what we call a secondary goal. The secondary goal is to close down the abortion clinic. And so there's strategies that we have for that. There are some clinics where like you don't have as much access, and so you're doing more secondary kinds of things than you would be otherwise. But David B. Wright made an excellent point when I was interviewing him for that, where he said there's pretty much never a time when you can't attempt some of that first step where you're actually trying to get access. You might have to get creative, but usually there are ways to do that. We talked about some examples of that. So certainly we are trying to help women, empower them, save their kids. There's a secondary thing also going on. We want that clinic shut down, and we're trying to do both of those things at the same time. You just have to be really strategic about how you prioritize them.
Have you found that many moms say they have an appointment and are running late? And then the rest of the question says, in other words, if they arrive 30 minutes early to fill out paperwork, you don't have as much time to talk, then isn't that a problem?
In my experience with the abortion clinics that I have been to, I want to encourage you to slow down and realize, like, I can remember one case distinctly, but there are many others where I was able to get the guy to come. It was the guy with the walnut that fell. And I was able to get him to come down and talk to me based on this walnut that almost hit his truck, and what a tragedy. And so he came down and talked to me, and I did not get anything useful out to him. I got no pro-life stuff. I did nothing but try to understand where he was coming from. It didn't get that far along. And he was like, I got to go. Good talking to you. See you later. And he left. I was heartbroken, frustrated. But then he came back out. So you're going to be able to figure out from your clinic how much time and stuff you have, and you're going to have to adjust that. But in general, it's better to work on having some rapport with them so that they will come back looking for you later, that you're a comfortable person to talk to. I know that our intuition is, well, I only have so much time, so I have to get them this much information, and maybe one of those things will work. In my experience, it's more successful to get them to come back and be relatable. They know you're opposed to abortion. You don't have to push that. They don't know that you are actually a human being that loves other human beings.
Okay, this question I think was mostly solved, so I'm going to kind of add to it though. This scenario this person is in, they drive into the clinic and the traffic on the road is extremely fast. It's like a 45 mile per hour road. Wow. And so there's a lot of noise. So I was thinking, in addition to, they're asking, how do you actually talk to that person who's driven into the clinic, and there's a lot of road noise, but also is there anything else that they can accomplish besides prayer from where they have to be on the sidewalk that would be useful at this location?
I'm sorry to call you out. The person that asked that question, are you here? No? Okay. There's some details I need to know about that. Like, I need to know, like, are they saying that it's so loud they cannot have a conversation? I have used that to my advantage. I've said to people, I can't hear you. Can you come over here? I can't cross this line. Can you I want to hear what you have to say. What? I've used that multiple times to get people, and this is the truth. I couldn't hear. So use it. Go ahead.
Is there anything that they can do else while they're on the sidewalk?
Yeah,
that you think is useful?
We've got a whole module on, we call it, what do we call it?
Non-talkers.
Non-talkers. Yep. But secondary goal is what I'm thinking.
There's also secondary goal, but there's also some things that that you can do to be like assisting, sort of like a wingman or wingwoman for the sidewalk counselor. So there's kind of multiple things and kind of those lessons that can be helpful. But things like being ready to record if anything sketchy is happening, or clinic escorts are coming down and are being, like, Jacob had to deal with a security guard at an abortion clinic that got really aggressive. And it's just easier to have someone else be the one taking the cell phone video for the cops or the lawyers or whatever later than for Jacob to be trying to manage the situation, de-escalate, while also doing all this. Like just him holding the phone kind of escalates things a little bit.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more in there where we talk about that, but for sure, there are good things that you can be doing.
There's so many things for non-talkers. You can be keeping an eye out for what kind of fruit's falling off the trees, where are the birds nesting, and they might mess up some cars. Keeping track of who's come in at what times and who's left. Keeping a basic record of what the traffic flow is like there to see if a campaign's working. Relaying information to people like, hey, that couple, they came in with 3 people, 2 just left, so there's still 1 here. So if she comes out, we know she's the abortion-minded person. All these little bits of information you can feed to the sidewalk counselors, very helpful for me. Because I might not notice. Hey, Jacob, did you see that car? They came from 2 states away. I didn't notice that. There's 3 of them in the car. It was probably a tight fit. That's good information. I can work with that. All these little things that you can be paying attention to help feed information to me so that the sidewalk counselors can do more stuff. It's also really cool when I've had situations where it's like somebody comes up and they're freaked out and there's some little quirky thing they need. They need orange juice or something. Or they need just something like that, or they're just hungry, and I'm like, I want to feed you, because I know you might not have the abortion, but and it's been like just some cheap little thing. One of the non-talkers or prayer warriors, I can be like, hey, can you go get that thing for them so I don't have to leave the conversation, and that might mean they're going to stay here longer and talk some more. I've had them run out. Hey, here's $5, here's $10. Go get them a phone card so that we can continue talking. Don't go anywhere. We're going to get you a phone card so that we can keep talking because I know your phone's dead. That's okay, but we're going to take care of it.
Do you ever recommend trying to stop or not stop, but like hand anything, or when people are in cars? Because like if you're on the sidewalk and they have to drive across the sidewalk to get into the parking lot, do you ever? Because I know that this has happened at another abortion clinic that has since relocated. That one of the ways you could reach the people both, and I know that sometimes this would happen after abortions, is that they would try to give like post-abortive literature as they left the parking lot.
I think that's great.
Okay.
Be careful of the literature. Actually read through and see what's in there. Make sure it's nice kind of stuff. You don't want like my papers up here that are covered in coffee stains and I've been scribbling on. You want them presentable and nice, but people that are going into the clinic, we've got people, hey, roll down your window. This still means roll down your window. And try to hand them some stuff. I think we don't talk about this too much, but like gift bags can be really effective. There's a lot that goes with that. Do not put any literature or anything in there. Just put nice things. Like things that you'd like to get in your Christmas stocking or something. Nice candies that are sealed, not that can be opened and resealed. And maybe chocolates, if it's not too hot, lip balm, different little things like that are nice, and it gives people I thought there was going to be like a bunch of junk in here, but I really like this stuff. Must be some nice people down there. And it's cool because sometimes people will get that and other people in the clinic will see it, and they'll be like, I want some of that too. And that's what they're giving away. I missed that. I'm going to go down there and get one. Go ahead.
Should we record at all times for legal reasons?
No.
If not, what situation should we record?
No, I don't think you should record at all times unless the situation dictates for it. I really don't want you with a tripod sitting out there recording, even though I've
done that. Here's another case of me screwing something up. Is when we did 40 Days for Life, like it was kind of a sketchy neighborhood. We did set up a camera on a tripod. It was not pointed in the doors of the Planned Parenthood. I made sure it was framed so like you're only seeing the sidewalk. And I would even show people that if they're questioning, like look at the screen. This is very intentional. I don't want to record clients, but we do have like safety concerns or whatever. Looking back on it, big mistake. I meant well,
Yeah.
Smart people make mistakes.
You're being harder on yourself than I certainly would be. Like, I understand there's some safety things and stuff there that you're trying to, and you've got a bigger group.
We also didn't have like cell phone cameras at that time. It was like a long time ago.
Yeah, things have changed on that. But
don't wear the GoPro thing right on the chest.
No. If on that note, you need to have a brief meta discussion with everybody at all your sidewalk counseling friends, your non-talkers. Hey, Who's ready to record today? Who's ready in case something starts to go down? The police show up or any one of the employees come down and start yelling at us or something. We need to have somebody ready.
And they need to make sure there's room on their phone.
Yes.
To record for more than like 8 seconds.
Another quick...
Because if their phone is filled up with podcast episodes and apps and Farmville and all that stuff, then that's a problem.
Yes. Yes. Make sure your phone's ready for it. Another thing I found that I've learned the hard way, because I had a conversation with a police officer, I started recording it, and I got a phone call. What I didn't know is the phone call stopped the recording.
Yep.
So what I do now is I quickly put my phone in airplane mode, hit record, and throw it in my pocket. Sometimes I'll just do video record and knowing that it's going to do audio too. So it's just a quick way to get audio. It's easy to share. I'll hit the video record and put it in my pocket with it on airplane mode.
We got a question that has a few different scenarios.
Okay.
That they want to know what they should reply to. There's two, one about birth control and one about STD testing. So if somebody says, starts the conversation like, oh, I'm just getting birth control, or oh, I'm just getting STD testing. I feel like you answered that earlier about saying to pivot to talk about, well, there's this other place where you can get free, right, Jacob?
Yes.
You said, okay.
Yes. Yeah,
and
there's another place we can get you some free STI testing, and I'm not going to say birth control because they usually don't do that, and I'm not trying to mislead them, but I'm going to point out all the other services they have and see if we can get over there.
That seems a little challenging, though, considering the state that we're in. Almost everything they're going to be able to get inside Planned Parenthood for free already.
Yep.
Because Oregon is so progressive.
Yeah.
No matter what insurance you're on, it's free. If
Wow.
you're not on insurance, the state pays for it. So
Okay.
I think that maybe there might be some frustration, not on your part.
I bet
I'm just
there
saying,
is.
It's hard to offer free when they're already getting free.
Yeah. I got to think about that one. I'm not going to give a rush answer that I want to give
You don't
right
have
now.
to, because if you give me an answer, then I can email it to
Okay,
everybody that attended.
let's do that. We're going to keep thinking about that one.
And then this, they also would like to know what you would say if somebody says there are too many people already in the world and I'm fine with abortion.
Never had that happen in front of abortion clinic.
Okay.
But
on college
it
campuses,
It might have
yes.
happened in Portland.
What's that?
On college campuses, yes.
On college campuses all the time, yes.
I think if
The
you
woman in
want-
Denver, by the way, the woman when I said I try to help pro-life people to be less weird, like what happens next is he says, well, I'm pro-choice. It's like, boom, drops the gauntlet. And I'm like, okay. I took a bite out of my sandwich and said, go ahead. Why are you pro-choice? And the first things he said was, I'm really worried about overpopulation. I'm a pragmatist, and there are already too many people in the world, and if you pro-lifers get your way, then abortion becomes illegal, and there will be even more too many people in the world, and that would be really bad. And I said, well, let's just say you're right. Again, I wouldn't do this on the sidewalk, but if I'm out and having this conversation, I said, let's just say you're right. Let's just say there are too many people in the world, and overpopulation is this really big problem. I'm not factually convinced of that, but let's just assume you're right. Why stop at birth? She's like, what? I said, let's really make a dent in the overpopulation problem. Like, if that's really a problem, let's actually solve this thing. Let's kill all the 2-year-olds and under, just once, but like global, like what Herod wanted to do, but globally, right? And let's like really make a difference on overpopulation. She's like, well, you can't do that. I said, why? She's like, well, you can't kill humans. I said, yes, that's exactly right. And we had a really good conversation. See, by the end of the conversation, she said, I'm out of good pro-choice arguments, and I can't believe you're so nice. That was how the conversation ended. Okay.
Is this anybody else's first exposure to Josh Brahm and Equal Rights Institute? Has anybody not had the pleasure of Josh before? Because, oh yes, excellent. Welcome everybody. We bring Josh back multiple times a year because he's a unique brain in the pro-life movement, and we have lots of Josh on our YouTube channel where you can watch him talk about really good arguments. Because who is this your first time to our conference, the Together We Advocate?
Nice.
Welcome, you guys.
Wow.
Thank you so much for coming. I want to tell you all really quickly, this is not by any means our normal conference. We've never had to do anything like this before.
It's usually so much better.
We normally bring in much more comfortable chairs. We're so sorry about how bad these chairs are. And we normally have multiple featured speakers. Josh often gets the honor. And then we have workshops that you can choose from, so you can make basically your own day of like, this is what I want to learn about, this is what I'm interested about. So please come back next March when most likely we'll be able to have a normal conference. But in the meantime, there's a lot of apologetics, and by that I mean defense of the pro-life position, on our YouTube channel. So since so many of you are new, I will send out a link. Can you make a note so I don't forget? Sherilyn keeps me from
She is
forgetting
on it.
stuff.
She gets it done.
I will send a link so you can go and answer questions like overpopulation and what do I say if they say this, just in regular pro-life apologetics, not just sidewalk counseling, because we don't have that on our YouTube channel right now. So
we have 10 more minutes on Q&A.
Okay. Okay, I already did that one. Okay, well, let's do 3 super fast. Can you wear Knights of Columbus hats or jackets? Do you know what Knights of Columbus are?
I know what Knights of Columbus are. I could tell you a story about that.
No. Super
but I'm
fast.
not going to tell you a story. I'm
can't.
going to be fast. I would not do it. I would just ask that you avoid it. I mean, I don't know what your Knights of Columbus hat or whatever, if it's something that
it's just usually an insignia, and then sometimes they wear windbreakers. Amazing Knights of Columbus out here.
I love the Knights of Columbus.
Yes.
They're good people. I love them. And I'm not even Catholic. I just be careful that I wouldn't do it. Let's put it that way.
It could be weird to people that
Yeah.
don't know what Knights of Columbus are and how wonderful they are.
Or if they know what the logo is and they just have the wrong impression of Catholics.
Yeah.
Okay, true.
Yep.
All right, are signs like all lives matter okay?
No.
No.
Don't
It's
do it.
too close to Black Lives Matter. It's not subtle. They know what you're doing. It's not good. I understand. It's a lot better than Black Babies Lives Matter.
Yes.
But it doesn't work.
This person wants to know the best 3 ways to serve the abortion-minded mother as they approach the clinic. And I think you're just saying start a conversation.
Yeah.
That's the main thing, right?
Yep.
Jacob's
3
like, I
best
really
ways
want
to
to
start
say 15 more things.
You-
But we still have more cards here, Jacob.
Okay, 3 best ways to start a conversation.
No, it says to best serve.
Best serve her.
Yes.
She feels like she's in a...
Jacob, we don't have time.
Yeah.
I
We've
know.
we've
So
covered that.
painful.
We've covered
Josh
it.
wants
Okay.
to build a relationship with every one of you through your your questions. Okay, what practical things can I do after the mom decides to choose life for her baby?
Throw a baby shower.
Okay.
Yes.
Marie does that regularly through Portland. So if you
That's
want to know
awesome.
how to organize
It's awesome. I think it's
Yeah, and
just
Therese.
so cool. Hold on. I'm sorry. I know you want to go fast, but it is so cool because you know what the pro-choice side is saying. You only care about babies until birth. No, you don't. Not true. Keep going.
Well, and this is really hard. I was hoping you would go. I was very small. Some of you have beautiful penmanship, let me just say. Is it okay for prayer support partners not engaged in sidewalk counseling to hold signs if the signs are not offensive?
Yeah.
So the
Yes.
non-talkers.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Sure. Yeah, you're building a narrative.
Okay, how do you convince people that life is worth living and has value and that it's worth bringing the child into a hard life?
They're in a hopeless position. Find out why that's hopeless. Get into their situation. I can't give you a silver bullet for that because I need to know what is going on with them, and I need you to take the time to listen to them. Ask them if you understand it by repeating it to them, and say, "Did I get that about right?" And empathize. Take your time. You heard us doing that earlier. This is simply not a hopeless world. They may feel hopeless. They may be out of hope. But you can help them see hope again.
I think that answers this one that says, please explain how a lady considering an abortion thinks. And then it follows up with, and more about how we who are pro-life can think counterintuitively, which I guess they mean counterbalance that. So I think that one was answered. Okay, we're down to 2 and then one that I need to have a minute to read. So this one says, the doctor says I need to have this abortion for my health and past pregnancies I got sick. Ooh, this actually raises a really important topic because there are so many women that have hyperemesis gravidium, which is insane morning sickness. I actually know women who are in the actually pro-life movement in Oregon here who have had feeding tubes throughout their entire pregnancy because they weren't able to get enough nutrition. And I've heard that the rate of abortion in women who have hyperemesis is incredibly high.
I would expect that.
And so it would be really hard, obviously, for you to know that on the sidewalk that might be why. But I guess in this scenario, it's like this is a person who...
I imagine she would say something.
Yeah,
I imagine she would say that.
And I have heard this, and we have been fortunate to get some people out, and I just feel for them. Like, when I've been sick for a few weeks, it's miserable. It's awful, and to be sick for months and months and man. First is to empathize with them, help them to not feel alone, and to be with them. Second is find out if they have a support system to really help. And find out if they actually wanted to keep the baby, but now they don't just because of this, or they wanted to, or they never wanted to. So a lot of that's going to play into it. If they wanted to, then you can also start being like, that's awful. I've had some friends. I know some people. I'm so sorry. I want to help you as much as I can. And I'm going to, now you can say, if you say something and you mean it, you can be like, I want you to know I'm going to make this my problem too. I'm going to try to help. I know you've talked to these doctors and stuff, but I know some incredible women all across this state, and they're going to be like, and they've had thousands of babies, and they know about some of these things, so I'm going to start reaching out to them, finding out what's going on, and see what kind of other things. You're trying to give them hope. They feel hopeless about being sick all the time. And if they're in the case where they wanted to keep the baby, we can leverage that and give them hope, real hope. I'm not lying to them. And try to work in it. Remember, you're not alone. So try to pull resources in from around. Emailing, asking. You could put something up on the Facebook or whatever. Go.
How do we respond to somebody who is just swearing and yelling at us?
Yes.
Besides AHA?
I think so. I'm sure it's probably talking about, you reach out to somebody and they're like,
believe it or not, that is better than the, they feel something. They're angry because this is frustrating. They're not resolved. I'd say they haven't given up. A soft answer turns away wrath. You say, why do you, I've had people come down and start screaming and yelling. I mean, a funny situation. I had this lady come down, she starts screaming and yelling, how dare you be out here judging all these people, saying all these mean things and holding these signs and stuff and saying these things with your signs. And I said, wait, I'm looking at the signs. They're all signs that, I thought were good. I'm like, I'm genuinely confused, ma'am. Which signs are offensive? And she reads them all and she goes, oh. Well, actually, your signs are really good. I like your signs. But what I thought they said was, okay, you have these kinds of signs and stuff, and people, a lot of times people are so mad, they see nothing but red. She couldn't even read our signs. So it just took a little push, and I've had people come and yell and scream at me, and I've been like, wait, hold on. What do you think I believe? Why do you think I'm here? And they say these things. You want to control women? You want to... Whoa! To be honest with you, you're just judging me in all these ways. I don't know anything about you. You seem like you're very angry at me, but I don't know anything else about you. I'm not going to say you're a horrible person. Clearly you care about this issue. I care about this issue too, so we both have that in common, but I don't know why you're yelling at me like I'm some dog. I'm not a dog. We don't even treat our dogs this way.
I want to say one other thing before we go to, we'll go to one final question after this one, but I just want to say one other thing that's really important to me. I've been talking about this a lot in the last couple of years. Pro-life people, generally speaking, especially Christians, need to get better at self-care when we're doing our pro-life work. You're going to make judgment calls about where, how much abuse you can take out there. And your standard for that might be different at the abortion clinic than it is at a college campus outreach. But what I don't want to have happen is for you to burn out because you feel like you need to take a flogging whenever you go out and do pro-life work. You might need to take a break at some point. And at some point, if you've tried to reach out to the person who is cursing at you or yelling at you and like you're doing the Jacob things and it's not working, it is perfectly appropriate for you to end a bad conversation. I mean, this is like more of a monologue that you'd be ending. But it's like I'm sorry, I don't think we should treat people this way. You've made a lot of assumptions about me. They're not true. You're not hearing that. So I don't have anything else to say to you, and graciously walk away. I have an article on the blog. If you go to blog.equalrightsinstitute.com, there is an article that I wrote called How to End an Unproductive Conversation. I've got some specific tips for that, and some specific examples of when I end unproductive conversations. It's important for you to know that you are not obligated to hang out with people for as long as they want to be hostile to you. You might decide to take it because you can and you're trying to save this life, but just keep track of how you are personally doing and in your personal health, because that matters a lot. It's not just about them, you matter too. Final question.
We'll send that link out in the follow-up email.
Awesome.
This is the final question. So this person may have already had their question answered. They just want to make sure that they can't be accused of harassment and if there's a specific way they should go about. But I feel like we talked about that a lot.
Yeah. We have a lawyer here.
Oh, I didn't know this.
And I am not one. Talk about what harassment is.
Well, there's a lot to it.
Hold on, I think she's turning it on.
She's working on it.
Okay. So a lot of times what will happen with police officers or other people is they will throw out that you're engaging in harassment or disorderly conduct. That's usually not true. And you generally do not need to be afraid of that, because a lot of times harassment, for example, is in the eyes of the beholder, and it's not a technical harassment situation. So if you're not really out of bounds, it's kind of like, are you blocking somebody? It's the same sort of scenario. You don't need to be concerned because someone says something about harassment or disorderly conduct. And as, I don't remember if it was Josh or Jacob said, generally speaking, the police would rather not arrest you, so I wouldn't necessarily worry about that scenario.
Awesome, thanks. Okay, pull out your yellow response card and hold it up for me so I can see that you have it. Sherilyn has more if you don't have one. There's several people in here I can see that do not have a response card. I would like for them to have one and a pen. We're going to take a few minutes. There's a few more things we're going to do, so please don't leave yet. We're not quite done. There's a couple more things we're going to do. Before you go, I want to make sure I get you to fill this out. Mainly because this is only the second time ever that we have done this seminar. This is very new for us, and we're trying to figure out how we can make this best. And we are going to hopefully learn from you how we could make this better, how we can fill up this time. So on the first side, it's got your contact info. You understand that. Know that we're not going to spam you. We will not sell your information. We send on average 1 to 2 emails per week, pretty much all of those with a new resource, an article or a podcast. Yes, ma'am? If you're already on the email, then you can skip it, I guess. You won't be getting double emails just because we got it again. The system is smart enough to deal with that.
Go ahead and put it on there because we're sending out some new information. We want to make sure you get that.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to send the ADF thing. I want to make sure you were here.
Yes.
There's some things on here you can skip because sometimes we're doing this for seminars before campus outreach. So skip the outreach stuff. Where it says rate the seminar, it's 1 to 10. 1 is this was so much worse than you thought it was going to be. Complete waste of time. 10 is this was so much better than you thought it was going to be. I loved it. I can't imagine it getting better. Don't feel like you've got to give us a 10 just to make me feel good. Give us your most accurate rating. Skip the mentor's name thing. We didn't do small groups today. You didn't have a mentor. In the comments, there's comment series on both sides. I've got a couple of different questions I would like you to answer, if you could. One would be, why did you give us the rating that you did? Why did you give us the rating that you did? Another question would be, how did this seminar change you? Has this seminar affected you in a certain way? If so, I would love to hear that. That would be valuable information. And then you could also put, if you have any ideas for ways to improve this seminar, or what was your favorite thing about it. I want to say one more thing about side 2. A lot of the stuff on the top, you can skip all that. We're not doing an outreach. But there is a box I just want to say something about. There's a box that says, I'm interested in financially supporting Equal Rights Institute's training program. I just want to be clear, we are not here to compete with Oregon Right to Life. We love Oregon Right to Life. So if you are not donating to Oregon Right to Life, you should be donating to Oregon Right to Life. If you feel like God is calling you to add to your pro-life giving and you want to send it to us, we won't say no. But you should probably not decide to start giving to us unless you are also giving to Oregon Right to Life, because they are a fantastic group. I'm going to have Jacob close with a couple of really important stories in a moment. But first, I just want to point you to a couple of resources. As you know, we have created an online course for this. It does cover a lot more than we were able to do today. But if this seemed helpful to you and you want more, I have somewhere where you can get more. And we set up a special coupon code just for you guys. If in the next week you go to Sidewalk Counseling Masterclass and purchase any membership, and the memberships are permanent. Once you buy it, you've got it for the rest of your life. If you use OROTL 2021, you get 25% off of any of the memberships. It's really, really inexpensive. For the kind of service you get with this online course especially, Jacob's going to get in contact with you personally and try to be ready to coach you and help you. That's the kind of thing that typically with an online course, you don't get the kind of access to a course instructor without spending at least $500 for an individual thing. And we've just made this part of Jacob's job. Is to coach the sidewalk counselors across the country. This is the main part of your job now. Is to coach the sidewalk counselors around the country that are taking our course and encourage them and keep them going. This is so you know some of the other topics that we cover in this. So we have an intro. We talk about choosing an abortion facility like Clinic Recon. We talk about accomplishing the secondary goal. That's with my good friend David B. Wright. We talk about how to get to know the clinic. We talk about getting to know local PRCs. That's with my friend Christy Burkhart from the Fresno Pregnancy Center. Signs and brochures, preparing for Counseling Day, non-talkers, creating a peaceful witness. Non-talkers are very, very important. You are, if you're a non-talker in here, just know you've got really, really important things that you do out there. It's really, really vital.
Yes.
And we have a lot of thoughts about that. Conversation starters, we talked about the conversation-oriented method today. Obviously, it's longer and more involved in the course, but we talked about that today. We talked about saving a baby who has a poor prenatal diagnosis. We do a lot more of that in the course. Diplomacy with alternative sidewalk counselors. Talking to clinic escorts and workers is something we didn't have time to cover at all today, but that comes up a lot. It's really important. We talk about how to talk to the police, and we talk about how to process failures, which is my favorite thing that we covered in the course. And we're going to just spend a little bit of time on that before we finish the seminar, but not as much time as we do in the course. We also have a pro-life apologetics course. There were some pro-life apologetics types questions. This is what we had started ERI originally to do, and we created in the first 2 years of ERI. So if you want a systematic approach to the dialogue tips that we do that not only help our pro-life conversations, but every conversation we ever have with anyone about anything. They really help me with my Calvinism conversations with Jacob. Like all these practical dialogue tips I'm using is like really, really great. We also talk about the most effective pro-life arguments. There are some pro-life arguments that are not persuasive to today's young pro-choice people, while there are some other arguments that are incredibly persuasive. This is what we're always trying to figure out what's working. We've put all that in the Equip for Life course. Same thing, coupon code, happy to give you a big percentage if you want to get that. And obviously follow us on all the things. We've got a podcast. There's resources on the back of the handbook about that. Okay, Jacob, talk to us just a little bit about how to process failure in a healthy way.
Yeah. I remember one day I was on the sidewalk and I was able to get into 2 conversations with 2 men who I think one had brought his girlfriend, the other one had brought his sister at the same time. Lots of dynamics, lots going on there. It can be tough, and it's great when one of them will decide to go in, and then the other one's got a much greater chance of going in. If one of them decides not to, then the other one But there's all these things happening, so I'm talking to both these guys. I get really excited because I hadn't had much happen. Now here's some things that went wrong. I didn't have any backup there. There was nobody else there with me that day. I was the last one there. And so I'm talking to these two guys. Conversation's not really going great. I'm a little bit frustrated, but it's okay. I'm used to this. It's okay. And about 15, 20 minutes into the conversation, I notice a man walking and pacing back and forth behind me. And so I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do. How am I going to bring this guy into the conversation? Do I leave the conversation in front of me? And I finally made the call. I'm not getting anywhere with these two guys, so what I need to do is gracefully exit this part. So that's what I did. I exited the conversation with them. And I turned to the guy behind me because I figure he's anxious. He's probably really going through something. There's probably a better chance I'll get him to go get his significant other out. And so that's what I did. So I start talking to this guy, and this is late in the day, and I know the abortion clinic's schedule. I know that we are running out of time very quickly, which is actually pretty rare for me. And so I'm talking to him, and I'm running out of time, and I'm just like, okay, listen, he's bawling his eyes out. He does not want this abortion. He feels like he has to go through with this. I go through so many things I went through with Liberty, and I'm like, okay, buddy, here's the deal. You got to go. Are you ready to go? He's like, I don't know, man. Come on, you got to go. So I said, you got to go. Okay, listen, go up there, go get her, and we'll talk about this. We'll come up with another plan, all this stuff. So he's, go. So he's like, okay. And I'm watching him walk up, and then there's a point where the street kind of splits, and he can go sit in his car or go in the clinic and get his girlfriend out. And I felt like I did everything right. I felt like, okay, I think he's going to go. He's going to go get her out. I thought maybe at one point today, I thought 3, now hopefully 1. And he's walking up there, left to go get his girlfriend out, right to go sit in his car, and he veers off to the right and goes and sits in his car. So not only did he not go get her out, I ended the conversation with 2 other guys. It was a complete failure for me that day. We could fill this seminar with times, we could fill a week with all my failures and how I've done things wrong, and they have been costly. And one way I could look at this is to go, I'm a failure, I screwed it up, those kids are dead because I didn't do the right thing and I didn't pay attention, and now I'm responsible on some level for the death of those kids. That is a very bad way to look at things. And might I ask you, it is not healthy, or tell you it is not healthy at all. The death of those children, even with your mistakes in front of the abortion clinic, their blood is not on your hands. You must know and understand this. You will make costly, horrible mistakes in front of the abortion clinic. And that's okay. You're human. The right way to look at this is to go, I messed up. I made a mistake. Here's what I did. I'm not going to do that again. And if you're anything like me, it takes you 2, maybe 3 times before you get it right. I'm not a good sidewalk counselor because I just figured out all this stuff first time I went out there and went at it. I messed up over and over and over and tried other things and new things and so many things that didn't work. Most of them didn't, and tried things that I just went all across the board. And I kept finding some things that worked and a lot of things that didn't. But I didn't give up. And I want to encourage you, don't give up. Get your friends and family praying for you. Realize that it's okay if you make a mistake. You need to be faithful and move forward. If you can continue doing that. Remember the guy I told you about? The hickory nut fell next to him? I actually had like 3 conversations with him, and none of them went very well. To be honest with you, that was one of those days where I was just like, I'm not saying the right things. It's not coming out smoothly. I'm bumbling it. It's just, and I didn't get anywhere with this guy. I spoke with him for hours, or a few hours, it seemed like. And it didn't work out. And that night, I exchanged phone numbers. I got a phone call. And he said, we're rethinking doing this abortion thing. At the point where they were at, she would be there for a 2-day procedure. The first day they don't kill the kid. The second day they do. I'm not going to get into the gory details. But he said, yeah, we've been rethinking it. I don't think we're going to have this abortion. Okay. I'm going to shorten this story dramatically and just say, this is the picture I got about 4 months later. Really quick, another time I talked to this guy, I could not get him to budge at all. I talked to him for a good 45 minutes. He's walking, he's not budging on it. I swapped phone numbers, went through so much of the stuff that you heard here in this class, and he's just not moving. It's like, nope, not going to get her. I had somewhere to go. I knew that it was just getting late, and so I was like, okay, and I left. One of the things I said is every step you take away from that clinic, you're going to feel worse. Every step you take back towards it to get her out, you're going to feel better. He's like, I'm not doing that. Okay, so I left thinking it was hopeless. I reached out to him the next day only because I wanted to see, like, I just wanted to be a loving human being that was like, I know you're going through a really rough time right now because you had the abortion yesterday. This must be hard. And so I reached out and said, hey, man, I hope you're doing all right. I know that yesterday was a rough day. And then he writes back, oh, hey, sorry, probably should have told you. What you said really set in, and so I went back and got her out. Really? That's awesome. I don't think that we know how effective or how much we've actually had success out there. I've had several times where I'm out there doing sidewalk counseling, somebody stops by with and says, hey, come here. You got to see this. We come over there, and they're like, hey, look at that. And there's a baby in the seat. And they go, and I'm like, what are you going to do? What's wrong here? And I'm like, what's happening? And they're like, yeah, me and my daughter, we were on our way here to have an abortion. We saw you with your nice signs, and we went, this must be a bad idea, and here's my baby. Or here's my granddaughter. Just wanted to stop and say thanks. You're not going to get to see all the results of what you're doing. Trust me, you're having it. Do this with a loving heart. You're going to have great results.
I want to invite Lois back up. She's going to close out the seminar. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you for attention. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for maybe something that you gave up at home to be here today. And I just want to thank you for, I know the chairs were uncomfortable and maybe the temperature wasn't as great and we're having to sit separate with our masks, but I know that for me, it was worth it for us to put this on for you, the information that Jacob and Josh were able to share with you. And I just really want to encourage you to pray and think about how you are going to utilize what you learned today. And one thing I wanted to mention that we do really encourage you to do the course, but I don't want cost to be a barrier to you, especially if you have a group. So we do have a chapter development fund at Oregon Right to Life and in our education foundation. So if this course is something that you really want to get and cost is a barrier, please let us know and we can help out with that. As I think that it's really valuable. One thing I've been thinking about is that, you know, we've had a lot of changes, some good and some bad in our politics and in our courts, but we really do, things are moving when it comes to the law on abortion and Roe v. Wade, and we don't know whether or not, you know, the standing of Roe may come down in a short period of time, or it may take a long period of time. But no matter what, whether Roe stays or whether Roe goes, women are going to be in their pregnancy situations where they're going to need your help and they're going to need the skills and the tactics that we learned today. And so that's one of the reasons why this workshop and has been on our wish list for a while to equip you. That's part of our mission at Oregon Right to Life, is to equip and educate pro-life people to go and save lives. So thanks again. And I just have a couple of announcements, and then we're going to end us with prayer. We would love to have your name tags back. You don't need to take them home with you. Your comment cards, your pins, you can just lay all of those on the registration table as you leave. Sorry, I'm waving the microphone around rather than keeping it here. And there are extra copies of the Masterclass workbook. We wouldn't be unhappy if all of them left, if you want to take a couple of extra ones. I want to remind you that we are having an in-person March for Life, April 17th, Saturday at the state capitol. And also launch our pro-life student leadership retreat is not happening at the end of March because of our venue's continued restrictions, but we are reworking it. It is going to be a student-only, in-person, shorter retreat. Just look for details in our emails and on our website. And also, be sure you're on our email list, and if you want to get texts from us, get texts. I'm sure you guys are aware that social media platforms and other things, we haven't had issues with it, but other pro-life organizations have. So the best way for us to make sure to stay in contact with you is through email, and if you're comfortable with doing it, through your cell phone and getting you texts. And we don't send a ton out, so we'll try not to overwhelm you. And with that, I will just say a short prayer and dismiss us. Lord, thank you for bringing each person here today, and thank you for the sacrifices they made to be here. And I want to pray for them, each person, as they leave to consider what their next steps are. I also just want to pray for the people who work at the abortion facilities in Oregon, and for the women and the families who will be visiting them over this next week and the next year, that you would work through people in their lives, and even through some of us here, to encourage them to walk out the door of that facility and choose life. Now, I pray that you would watch over all of us as we head home, for our safety, and thanks again for the opportunity to be together today. And we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you very much.